Hi everyone, I would love to welcome all my listeners to Conversations with Construction Chronosomes, the avenue that aims to advance construction management education and give access to that knowledge to young students and young professionals so that it can be shared and added to. Listen to our thoughts and leading issues within the industry. I'm excited here to bring to you an illuminating episode on career development, and I am your host, Daisy Wu, the podcast lead and event support of CIOB Nervous Victoria. Specifically, this episode will rap about career resilience and transitioning. And I'm so humbled here to be able to interview our respected guest, Nathan Aron, who is going to disseminate his invaluable insights on this topic from a recruiter's standpoint and perspective. So, without further ado, I will just vocalize my official and warm welcome to Nathan. Welcome, Nathan, to this podcast.
Thank you, Daisy, for having me today and involving me in such a special podcast. And hopefully all your listeners and followers will get a lot out of today's interview and podcast as well.
So pleasure to have you here to join this much coveted interview. So firstly, to cover a bit of ground about you, and before I hand this over to Nathan yourself, Nathan is a recruitment consultant at Hays. Hays is an industry leader recruiting experts in construction and property development space worldwide. So Nathan, could you please introduce yourself and fill us in on what career paths you took in the past that get you to where you are today?
Yes, certainly, Daisy. I guess mine was a little bit of left field. I originally started in professional sports when I signed a professional contract when I was 16 years of age to head to the United States of America to play baseball. And I guess initially, very early in my career, heavily motivated and dedicated to each profession that I've actually taken on so far. But from there, unfortunately, it didn't last. I succumbed to injury and came back home to Melbourne, where I bought my first property, which really sparked an interest in the property and construction sector for myself. And from there, I got into real estate, where I was selling traditional real estate to mums and dads, and then transitioned into assisting developers with their off-the-plan sales and working with architects and builders to work through those processes with them. More recently, I have obviously transitioned into recruitment with Hays, where I'm now assisting candidates in that respect and clients with both career progression or solution to their immediate needs from a resourcing point of view.
Incredible. It really sounds like an incredible, amazing wealth of experience and background. And on that note, we just can't wait for you to share whatever, and we can't wait for literally what you have in store in contribution to this episode. In view of your wealth of experience and depth of experience as well in the development space that transitioned you to a much coveted recruitment consultant nowadays. So yeah, but before I move on to the actual interview part, I do have two questions additionally to let the audience know a bit more about you as a person. So firstly, to start with, what is the song that motivates you in order to push further and continue to achieve more?
Yeah, great question. It's something that I'm probably not going to sing, but it'd be the Greenback Boogie. It's the intro song to the Suits series. It's something that I really love, and it really gets me up in the morning and gets me moving.
Yep. There's a chance to be the one that motivates you, like something you wake up to day and hour as a booster?
Yeah, it's probably not. I think I'm pretty comfortable in that space, I think.
I take it that you are a book person, so do you have a book that you really strongly recommend to the audience, the majority being students and emerging professionals?
Yes, good question again. It's a book that I'm now reading for the third time. I'm about halfway through it at the moment. It's called Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. For me, it's really critical, especially in today's modern age. Business is very busy, but so are our personal and social lives as well. And for me, this book has really helped with time management, both professionally and personally, planning on a day, month, a weekly and an annual basis. And lastly, reducing procrastination, which unfortunately is a root of careers not going forward.
That sounds like a habit that we all should buy one for ourselves so that we don't miss out too much in part of transitioning into the new normal, operating out of a hybrid mode, sort of. Thanks very much, Nathan, for the introduction.
You're welcome, Daisy.
Okay, Nathan, so as you know, today's episode is about career transitioning and resilience. And in view of the disruption of COVID-19 continuing in not only the Australian landscape, but also internationally, I just can't, help alluding to this context in which we wrap the conversation around transitioning and resilience. So generally, what's your outlook as to the current market in the domestic and international context?
Yeah, great question, Daisy. I think the Australian building industry is really the backbone of the country and the state. It provides hundreds of thousands, if not millions of jobs to workers and careers that have transformed buildings, states and lives. So that goes from trades and labour, engineering, construction and management. So I think even though we saw a big blip last year, I think we are certainly coming out of that now to 2021. Builders, clients that I'm speaking with today are certainly buoyant about where the market is heading, especially with a lot of the government funding that we have received as an industry. So I think 2021 has started with a bang, and it's going to continue on for the remainder of the year and hopefully moving forward as well.
Yeah, and hopefully the gradual easing in the restrictions and the like will be a pace with the easing and eruption of the pipeline with regard to projects and jobs in various sectors and professions. Right. So in your view, the last over 1 year, what are some of the most salient and outstanding social institutional changes that you want to flag as a recruitment consultant?
Well, great question, Daisy. I think through 2020, we saw a number of changes across the industry, which also had a large impact on individuals and individual companies across the construction sector and across many sectors in Victoria and Australia and worldwide. As a result, we have noticed employers offering flexible working environments. However, this is based on the role being performed and the level of experience from those individuals and individual teams. Personally, I don't believe that there is a substitute for on-the-job training or mentoring, especially on a building site that we see today. So I think longer term, if not short term, we will see a lot of people back in the office and on construction sites, which is heavily important to the infrastructure and economy.
Thanks, Nathan. So overall, do you see majority of the organizations that you list where it's transforming to a new normal, or actually do some of them sort of try to resume back to the old normal pre-COVID on the recovery?
Yeah, great question. Again, I think it's been a bit of a mix, to be transparent. Some companies have been really innovative through this period where they've had more involvement with employees around working environments, whether that be a mix of work from home or involving the office as well. And then some have probably gone back and tried to get everyone in as a very inclusive environment as well. So I don't think there's a one size that fits all in that space, but it's been a bit of a mixed solution, and I think it's very much being detailed by individual companies and individuals within those companies as well.
Yeah, thanks, Nathan. So do you think this has played a positive role in terms of creating and sustaining the pipeline of new jobs?
Yes, I think coming out of the COVID environment being in 2020, we're certainly seeing really positive signs from both employees and employers, specifically with clients now requesting and requiring and resourcing for more staff. So I think it's certainly been there is a strong pipeline of work, which obviously and eventually flows into employment opportunities. But we are starting to see that happen now as a result of all the infrastructure spending and government spending into a lot of our infrastructure projects coming into Melbourne.
Thank you for that. And just in view of the tools or digital sort of platforms or workflows at our own disposal, people are realizing that actually the talent is the driver for recruitment process, no matter where we live. So how do you think we can actually overcome the geographical barriers when it comes to recruitment?
Yeah, well, ultimately the construction industry has changed over the past 12 months. Now, I guess, was that a result of the working from home environment where companies could access a higher quality of talent without them being located specifically in the office? I'm sure it has some influence, however, I guess now more than ever, people are actually buying into people, and the new currency is connection. Of course, they need to be able to do the job and facilitate their role within the team, but we are moving away, if we haven't already, from purely performance focused towards being more values focused, both as employees and employers.
Yep.
So I do believe that would open the opportunity for larger talent, both locally and internationally, to access different platforms here in Melbourne.
Yeah, so Nathan, as we just talk about construction industry, that I share my viewpoint on as what I view as a human industry where people underpin the success of individual projects, and we are ultimately also the constructors of our own career. So at the backdrop of the COVID-19 pandemic and this market condition, do you think this climate sort of have catalyzed some career moves and the dynamics as to what skill mix are critical and pivotal to succeeding in the career?
Yes, I think the 2020 environment, Daisy, certainly created a significant change throughout the industry and many other industries as well. But I think construction individuals focused very much on themselves in the last 12 months, not being selfish, but more so constructing themselves, as you've mentioned. A lot of people went back to school, got further education pieces, which are heavily government funded as well, but really investing more time in themselves to upskill or learn new techniques or methods or programs, which will certainly enhance their careers, both short term and long term, which is a great sign to see.
Yeah, that's amazing insights. And since you recruit extensively and notably you're quite specialized in the commercial construction space, can you share some of the insights as to what skills could be transferable if one contemplates a career transitioning between the client side and the contractor side?
Yeah, this is a bit of a tricky question as well. And the reason I say that there's no blanket rule. I guess this one very much comes down to the individual contractor requirements and the candidate skill sets. These are very significant differences between when we are comparing the two. In a contractor, you are very much hands-on and making sure you deliver the project to time and on budget, looking after the bigger picture of and understanding why you are, I guess, and how your client wants to achieve the project completion. This is very much problem solving, whereas client side, you'll be managing the head contractor, very much what you would have been doing on your side, to find solutions. So the main tangibles here are coordination, and the main skill sets are coordination, communication, stakeholder engagement. Those would be the transferable skill sets.
Thanks very much for sharing. So as far as we can deem the built environment as quite diversified, the industry being so diversified in terms of not only the sectors but also professions, we can, I guess, correspondingly see a great myriad of career movements in the industry, not just vertically but horizontally. So I take it that you would have witnessed so many types of movements between the sectors, and there might be people pivoting around the professions as well. Let's move to the sector to start with. Do you think there are skills transferable if one wants to move from the residential space to the commercial space, where your forte lies currently for recruitment?
Yeah, again, this one is a little bit tricky. And the reason I say that, in a lot of clients' eyes, these two specialisms are completely separate. I guess, and that's due to various regulations, consultants and engineers that they are both dealing with, stages, methodologies, and I guess relevant build codes and safety requirements. I guess in saying that though, the most transferable skills are mainly determined by trade backgrounds, e.g. carpentry, but also from an administration point of view, software packages used for argument's sake, your Procore, Hamatech, Aconex, and how they align both with the residential organisation and the commercial organisations moving forward.
What would be your go-to tip or advice for the aspiring and emerging professionals and students? What should they do when they're part of their education or coursework in order to lay a rough or solid foundation of basic knowledge and potentially some of the critical soft skills that are really pivotal to transitioning into the corporate space?
Good question, Daisy. I think that's something that it kind of happens a lot. A lot of candidates that I do speak with on a daily basis have very similar questions to what you just raised. The best piece of advice I can give anybody that is looking to make a transition or upskill is meet with individual mentors within the business or I guess leaders within organisations to see how they've transitioned from when they first started to where they're at now. Obviously, there is a big step from when you first start to where you want to finish, and everyone's journey is completely different. But as many people you do speak to, they will provide you sound advice in terms of where you need to go.
Keep us illuminated as we navigate our career trajectory and pathways, regardless of what stage we are. And I guess learning from the example definitely will shorten the learning curve a bit in terms of getting a rhythm of what it is like and what is possible for us to reevaluate, reassess, and realign. I guess making an informed decision ultimately is something we as constructors of our career should have a vested interest in. So talking about mentoring, I can't help thinking about the common mentor that we both traversed with over the past few months, who is, of course, a very high-achieving female industry leader. Could you please share some of the key takeaways you've got through your mentorship?
Yes, I guess you have alluded to, we both engage in mentoring with Eleanor. And I think for myself in particular, I was very much at a point in my career where I'd almost become stagnant and procrastinated, I'd say, a lot as well. And was really looking for a way forward, a way to become more productive. I certainly had the motivation and determination, but not necessarily the right direction in where that was steered. And I think mentoring, whether or not that is paid mentoring, natural mentoring from friends, family, someone within your organisation, or leaders that you do look up to, I think everyone has a mentor where they can kind of reach out to and guide them on the right path. That is something that has been really critical in the past 12 months for myself. Before that, I guess I was kind of floating about within the industry with no real direction. So I think a mentor can provide some serious direction and help you in the right ways.
Yeah, couldn't have said this better myself, as one of the biggest fans of our common mentor. And on that note, I just want to highlight the fact that nowadays it's quite common that we have facilities and initiatives in space in not only the tertiary education institutions and also the corporate space. Notwithstanding these amazing initiatives and supports, why would people like you and I still seek for additional mentoring outside where we work or study? So do you mind sharing some of your viewpoints drawing upon your hands-on mentoring journey?
Yes, I think it comes down to, I think with mentoring, it becomes a very much you need to understand who you are as an individual, first and foremost. Then the individual that you are seeking mentoring from will assist you and guide you in the right path. They will certainly lift you up with your and increase your deficiencies, so to speak, and work on those, but also make you accountable to what you want to achieve short and long term. They really steer you in the right direction. And for me, having Eleanor and obviously Ron there as well, mainly have steered me in the right direction, giving us the right input at the right time, and just been a really good soundboard to make sure that is going to be strictly aligned with my career and where I want to go.
Yeah. I like that you alluded to the time-related tangent when it comes to investing in mentoring. I guess I hope I've done you the justice by commenting that you are really a good investor now that you alluded to the time-related tangents in self-investment. Do you want us to elaborate on that more and more in a generic sense to enlighten the listeners?
Yeah, I think investment, I think the number one investment you can make is obviously yourself. If you invest in yourself, obviously the results will come from that, whether that be through education, training, additional mentorship, as I've just talked about. But the more you do invest in yourself, the greater outcomes and achievements you will achieve. So for me, that has been pretty evident, especially the last 12 months, once I've entered the mentorship program and has really succeeded or excelled in my career of choice. And I'd certainly recommend anybody to kind of really assess where they're at the moment and where they want to go to. And I guess, hence, read the book of Eat That Frog. You will start to really align yourselves with those critical tasks that need to be done at the forefront of your mind, and then push to the side those later tasks which aren't so critical or dollar productive in most senses.
Yeah. If at all possible, do you mind sharing what your current mental construct is so as to enable you to take massive and immediate actions in due course without procrastinating? Something practical?
Yeah, so each day I have a daily task list or a day plan, so to speak. I rate those tasks from 1 to 10 and obviously tackle the most serious or challenging tasks first. There's nothing worse than kind of getting to the end of the day and not completing those. So, and you always generally tend to push those back towards the end of the day so you don't have to do them. But if you get those tasks done immediately, the rest of your day completely frees up, and you're able to assess at the end of each day, review how you've gone, what tasks you were able to achieve, and then you're able to compound that on a weekly basis, monthly basis, and then obviously on an annual when you look back at 12 months later and see what you've achieved.
Yeah, very spot on. We can't really overlook the role of compounding, not only from a numerical perspective, but I guess it will really pan out what we're investing today, and it will manifest and materialize in what you can reap tomorrow, right? So, and whilst you are still reviewing and that book on time management, you already, certainly I can verify, talk like an expert. And I hope that the audience can take something valuable away and have them onboarded and internalize and integrate it into their daily practice so that they can succeed as much as you do and will continue doing. Okay, thanks again, Nathan. As we're about to conclude our conversation, we'd love Nathan to please share his go-to quote that defines the attitude of getting where he is today and where he will traverse in the future.
Thanks, Daisy. My go-to quote was actually stuck with me from one of my previous directors in real estate. It's by Henry Ford. Whether you think you can or you can't, either way you're right. And for me, that resonates so clearly, because if you have a positive mindset and an attitude, you'll be able to achieve that task ahead, versus on the flip side, if you've got a negative positive or a negative outcome or a negative mindset, you're very much limited by your own beliefs. So that would be my go-to quote.
Couldn't have said it myself, although this might be cliche, but thanks very much, Nathan, for this podcast and the invaluable insights disseminated. And we hope to really bring this and proliferate your insights to the broader community of audience in order for them to skyrocket and scale their career in the near future. Thanks very much, Nathan, and we look forward to meeting you in the future. Bye.
Thank you for having me, Daisy.